Welcome to another episode of Security Minutes. I have with me today Craig and Claudia. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
Claudia, I want to talk about threat intel, and specifically I want to dive into the high-tech crimes and threat report. I was really interested in getting your take. What stands out most to you in that report?
Over the past year, our report is based on all the research over the campaigns that we have observed. And really we noticed one key theme in all of these attacks, which was supply chain compromise. There are multiple attack vectors that are causing these supply chain breaches, which in turn also affect companies globally, including in Australia. And this includes open source tooling, so threat actors are getting access to real administrators' credentials that have access to open source repositories and injecting malware into that, which will then affect companies downstream in developer environments. We're also seeing the use of phishing as well to essentially target specific organizations with AI, deepfake as well, to get into these organizations and exfiltrate data for financial gain and widespread impact. In a previous episode as well, we spoke about the shift in ransomware gangs as well, and personally I find this the most interesting point of the report, is that ransomware gangs are massive groups, they're everywhere. We see all of their activity and who they're targeting. And they obviously don't like the fact that they are in the eye of the law enforcement. So a lot of the affiliates are actually branching off into smaller groups and starting
Splintering.
Starting their own ransomware as a service operations, so they can remain under the radar and still be able to get that financial gain in the background. We still see big groups, ransomware groups, that are actually fortifying their defenses against this. So they are operating like an actual business, which has been a very interesting finding out of all of this, where they've got teams that focus on penetration testing, zero-day research, legal teams, IT support, which essentially increase the impact and the likelihood for an organization to pay a ransomware payment to these threat actors.
I think just adding on that, when we look at that ransomware piece, there's been a lot of talk about these big organisations with affiliates, and we're seeing some of these smaller groups now, but they're English speaking. Now this is something that has changed a little bit. So you look back in the UK last year, we had a number of sort of data breaches at Transport for London, Co-op, Marks and Spencer's, really big impact in communities, and a sort of attributed to Scattered Spider Group. But these were sort of the late teenagers, early 20s, and they weren't big groups effectively. We've put all this emphasis on these big groups, and as Claudia said, we've disrupted them, we've gone after them, we've hit them on the money, we've hit them on the infrastructure. It's a lot harder when you've got the smaller groups. In terms of the reporting that Group IB's done, shining the light in that area is really important for law enforcement, but also for businesses, is you're a potential target here, and look at these ones that have happened previously. And that English-speaking group, I think, is looking forward now, something we all have to look out for.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you particularly look at the third-party challenge. I mean, this is something that I think has been kind of, we've been watching, we've been focused on. We send out lots of questionnaires, we do a lot of work to make sure that our third parties are secure. It's really interesting to hear how the open source problem is actually manifesting to make that even worse.
Yeah, it's a big theme in this report where we're saying that trust is now no longer implied. It's something that has to be consistently monitored for, and that's where the threat intelligence piece comes in, because organizations aren't going to be monitoring hundreds of contracts that they have with third parties, and they need that additional piece to come in and actually know who is being attacked and which ones to be looking for and prioritize them.
And we're seeing companies now, with the third parties, they're putting an onus on the contract around that third party cybersecurity, ISO accreditation, all that really boring stuff that some people say. But actually, it's really, really important because you don't have those basic measures. As a company contracting out for a service or something like that, you're making yourself, and also you're making your customers vulnerable as well.
I mean, it's a massive challenge, and I there's a lot of insights in the report, and we'll make sure we put the link up so people can download. What I'm also interested is, how are you seeing some of this manifest in Australia?
We've seen over the past year a lot of ransomware attacks in Australia as probably the leading...
That's still happening?
It's still happening. It's not surprising in the fact that a lot of the attack vectors that have been around for years, like compromised credentials, vulnerabilities, leaving data open to the public in an internet exposed asset are still the main ways that threat actors are getting access to this data in an organization. So ransomware operators are looking at these attack vectors and finding really simple ways still into Australian organizations to get access to the data. It's just still not being secured in this time.
I mean, we laugh, but we shouldn't, because there's a lot of really interesting technology and tools out there, but the reality of it is we've still got to get the fundamentals right, and those fundamentals sometimes aren't being done right, are they?
Definitely not. I think it's worth going back to square one and understanding where those holes lie, especially in larger organisations where things might fly under the radar and there's a lot of more potential for shadow IT. This is what threat actors really prey on, and we're still seeing that in Australia today.
Claudia, Craig, thank you very much. Some really good insights. If you'd like to learn how you can apply threat and adversary intelligence to your organization, please reach out to your Data3 account manager. Thank you very much.